Hello, Lucy and Conrad and Caleb. Papa has a new X-Men adventure to tell you about with a new opponent for our team. So let's look at him. He's called the Mimic. Do you know what the word mimic means? It means someone who imitates someone else. So, who do you think the mimic is imitating? Look, he has wings like the angel. He's got big hands and feet like the beast. He's walking on an ice pole. Who can create ice? Yes. And look, he has fancy sunglasses, which reminds me of, that's right. Now, he probably has some mental powers too, but we can't see them. But we know from this picture that he's imitating the powers of all of the X-Men. So let's get into the story and see how he gained such amazing powers. Okay, the title is Lo, Now Shall Appear the Mimic. But before we get to him, we're going to watch the X-Men working out in their danger room. The editor says, you are witnessing a typical day's activity at a typical private school. Now, is this what y'all do, Conrad, at Cypress Christian School? What about you, Lucy? Do you do this at Lamb School? I doubt that Caleb does any of these activities at his home school, right? But this is typical if the students happen to be the super-powered X-Men. So look at all the different things that they're doing. All right, so we see Iceman is creating a javelin and tossing it at the target. He says, boy, one thing's for sure, a Hawkeye, I'm not. So he doesn't have as good aim as Hawkeye does. And over here we have Marvel Girl, who's just kind of levitating and reading a book. She says, I hope our training session doesn't end too soon. I'm really enjoying this issue of the magazine. And so here's the angel flying around. He says, this is kid stuff, psych. If I flew any better, I'd be ready to molt, which means he'd be like a real bird. And over here, we've got the beast balancing and holding a ball. And he says, why is the benign beast so prejudiced against? If I were a mere anthropoid like us, I'd be receiving a tumultuous ovation by now. All right, so there he is, holding himself up with one hand, balancing a ball with one foot, and spread-eagled in the air. So let's all clap for him, okay? Clap, 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 clap. And Cyclops is running Angel through his maneuver, saying, one more maneuver, Angel. Swoop sharply to your left without ruffling the pages of Jean's book. All right, so Cyclops is directing their workout. And so the Angel swoops, but he swoops in the way of Iceman and his target practice. He says, sorry, Bobby, didn't mean to spoil your aim. Yeesh, Bobby says. Now I missed the whole target. And so, thwang, his javelin hits the wall. And so, Angel says, yow, because Iceman tosses some ice flakes at him. That's okay, Warren. I didn't mean to toss a mess of ice flakes at you either. And Cyclops, ever the taskmaster, says, Iceman, no clowning around till the session's over. Sorry, Cyke. I thought we were finished. Uh-oh, don't try anything, Angel, unless you want to get tickled with this icy toothpick. Y'all want to get tickled with an icy toothpick? You, Master Robert Drake, Esquire, says Angel, are asking for it. Sounds like a threat. And Cyclops says, no clowning around. Whack! And so Cyclops shoots his power beam as Iceman realizes Cyke's power beam. He's serious. So, gosh, Scotty, says Iceman, can't you take a joke? And Cyclops can't take a joke. He says, not when the prof made your training my responsibility. He's right, Bobby, says Angel. Let's knock it off. Sorry, Cyke, says Iceman. We'll both cool it now. Pardon the pun. Do you know what a pun is? A pun is when somebody says something that kind of fits what they're talking about. And so Iceman is, of course, very cool. And he says, we'll cool it. All right. All right. Cyclops says, let's buckle down again. It's time to to beat your own speed record on the trapdoor obstacle course, Hank. And Hank says, just to ease the boredom, this time I'll attempt to negotiate the maneuver on one hand. Look at that. I can't even stand on my hands, much less just one hand. But Cyclops warns him, wait, what of the danger? And Iceman says, too late, he's off. Thump, clump, thump, clump. He's bounding off on one hand, and he says, fear not, group, the beast shall persevere. Careful, Hank, says Cyclops. So far, so good. Whoop, the timing sequence has been altered, realizes Hank. It's been speeded up. And so, flap, the trapdoor flaps open and tosses this big bundle at him. And so Hank says, move, beastie, lest your celebrated cranium be clobbered in a most unceremonious manner. Well, let's see what happens. And look, good work, Hank, says Cyclops. Your timing was perfect. Don't tune out, Cyke, says Hank. There's more to come. Thump, he catches the big bag with his feet. And then zing! He says, merely protecting oneself in a battle is not quite enough. The defense must be transformed into an attack. Voila! And so he tosses the big bag in the direction of someone else. In fact, toward Angel. And so now Angel knows what it's like to have someone be careless around him. Sorry, Angel, says Beast. Apparently I was overzealous. Whoosh! And Angel manages to dodge, but he says, you can say that again. Jean, look out! And here comes the big bag in her direction. And she says, don't worry, I'll change its direction telekinetically. But wouldn't you know it, I lost my page. And so she dropped the magazine, and now she have to look to see where she was reading. Look alive, Hank. There are more obstacles to come. While Cyclops uses his I-beam, thunk, to stop the big bundle from hitting him. But here comes a thought beam from Professor X. No, that will be all for today. Professor X, he says, I've been watching your session with great interest. You've done splendidly, but I think you've had enough for one day. Besides, I have an announcement for you. First, click, I'll shut off all the electronic booby traps. All right, so school is no longer in session. And Cyclops thinks, an announcement, is there some new danger awaiting us? And of course the professor can see by Cyclops' face and probably can read his mind. He says, no need to look so grim, Scott. All my announcements are not necessarily harbingers of trouble. Since your bouts with the Sentinels and with Magneto in the past few months, I've been waiting for you to become fully recovered and to attain your fighting peak again. Hank says, we're as fit now as we'll ever be, sir. I agree, Henry, replies the professor. And that's the reason I've decided it's time you had a little vacation. Wow, says Iceman, you said the magic word. Says Marvel Girl, time off, a chance to buy new clothes. Leave us waste not a minute, Bobby boy, says Hank. He's got something in mind for the two of them. And Warren claps his hands. Look out, girls, here I come. Cyclops doesn't say anything, but he thinks the prof is right. They've earned it. Hang on, Beastie, says Iceman. We'll leave via my Ice Express. Lead on, Macduff. And so Iceman and Beast run off to get changed for their vacation. And Marvel Girl says, if any ice melts on the floor, I'm not mopping it up, Bobby Drake. And Cyclops thinks, if only I dared to ask Jean for a date, but I haven't the right, so long as my power beam is an ever-present danger. And Warren says, how about a double date, Scotty boy? Sorry, Warren, I've other plans. And so we see that Scott likes Jean, but he's worried to act out on his interest because he's worried about his eye beams. The professor says, I'll contact you mentally when it's time to return. Later that day, on the steps of the public library in the city, well, here are Bobby and Hank. Is that where y'all would like to go? If y'all had vacation, let's go to the library. Well, Bobby is there because he's looking for Zelda. It's lucky that Zelda doesn't work at the coffee house today, Hank. And Hank says, I'm rather apprehensive, though, about the blind date she procured for me. Do y'all know what a blind date is? It's when someone arranges a date with someone and they don't know her. Do you know that's how I met Nana? Was on a blind date because your Aunt Lynn fixed us up. So it's sometimes a blind date can be a really good thing. And so that's what's about to happen. Bobby and Hank are looking for Zelda and another young lady, and so they're going to go out together. So Hank's meeting a blind date. It's not that she's blind, it just means that Hank has never seen her before. Bobby says, cheer up, buddy. Any gal is better than no gal. Hank replies, there are times, my frost-bitten friend, when your wisdom verily belies your years. Zelda's not here yet. We might as well case the other chicks. Well, what kind of attitude is that? Bobby's looking around for other girls while he's waiting for Zelda. Not a gentleman. Hank, on the other hand, says, if it's all the same to you, I'll just peruse the tantalizing tomes I see before me. He thinks, here's a title, Our Friends the Beasts, a most propitious title. And the librarian says, if you haven't noticed, these books are for preschool age children. And so she's kind of telling Hank to look elsewhere. And Hank says, my dear young lady, as a free citizen in a free society, it behooves me. And Bobby says, hey, Hank, I don't get it. Here comes Zelda, and she's all by her lonesome. I guess her friend couldn't make it. And Hank, staring at the librarian, says, just as well. I'm beginning to find the company of females somewhat trying. Well, answers the librarian, aren't you the gallant one? Bobby says, hi, Zelda. Where's Hank's date? Right here, naturally. That's why I wanted to meet in the library. This is Vera. She works here part-time. I thought you'd already met. And Bobby says, well, what do you know? You were talking to your date. Talking rather rudely, huh? And Hank says, now they tell me. And Vera teases him. Do you always blush that way, Mr. McCoy? It's the only way I know. So Hank is kind of turning red with embarrassment. I would too if I'd been talking to a girl rudely and find out, well, she's my blind date. Well, enough of this banter, right? We need to find some adventure. And so the editor says, have you ever noticed how danger can appear when you least expect it? For example, as our far-out foursome leaves the library, Vera says, oh dear, there's Calvin Rankin coming towards us. And Bobby says, is he a boyfriend of yours, Vera? No, says Vera, but he's been wanting to be, and he's so hot-tempered. So, says Calvin, you didn't have time for a date with me today, but here you are arm in arm with that creep. Hank says, if you're referring to me, And Vera says, I don't have to answer to you for anything, Calvin. And Bobby says, boy, is Mr. Rankin heading for a fat lip. So this hot-tempered fella is trying to strike up an argument. And Vera says, just because I've helped you locate books you wanted on mine engineering, that doesn't mean you can tell me whom to date. Oh, no, says Calvin. Hank says, all right, son, we are no longer amused. Okay, so he's kind of shaking his hand and trying to get Calvin to back off. But look, he punches at him. He says, nobody asked you to butt in. I'll knock you clear back to Squaresville. He says, hey, I never saw anyone dodge so fast before. But of course, that's what Hank is all about. He says, obviously, you're not the observant type, and now it's my turn at bat. Then, as Hank McCoy swings easily, not wanting to take unfair advantage of his enraged foe, he is astonished to see that Calvin can dodge quickly too. Hank thinks, he sidestepped my blow as effortlessly as I had outmaneuvered him. But nobody is as agile as the beast, nobody normal, that is. And Calvin dodges and he says, ha, missed me by a mile. Well, look what happens next. Vera says, Calvin, Hank, stop it. There's no need for a common street brawl. And Bobby looks and realizes it can't be. He's leaping around like the beast. And look, he kicked off his shoes. He says, now that I kicked off my shoes, I'll really go to town. And so he bounces around, thack, thack, bouncing around the sidewalk and the lamppost. And the beast says, it's incredible. He actually possesses my powers, but I don't dare use them myself. It would mean revealing my X-Man identity to the girls. And so Hank just punches, but he doesn't connect. And then the crowning humiliation, Bach, Calvin lands on top of Hank with his feet. He says, sweet dreams, stupid. That'll teach you to stay away from my girl. Not that Vera was his girl at all. Here comes Bobby. He puts his hand on his shoulder and said, all right, tough guy, you had your inning. Now it's my turn at bat. Look over here. Here are some construction workers, and they're watching the fight going on. Hey, did you guys see what happened over there? Yeah, some kind of fight. That was no ordinary fight, pal. And then all of a sudden, Calvin turns icy. Look, his hand is ice, and he throws some ice in Bobby's face. Thwop! Bobby thinks he's turning icy. And Calvin says, next time you'll keep your nose out of other guys' business, runt. And so here come the construction workers, and look, they're holding a sledgehammer and a brick. So they're going to get into the fight. And one says the big guy beat up one kid, and now he's going after the other one. But look at him. He ain't no ordinary bruiser. Did you see the way he moved and leaped around? And now he's got some kind of icy power. He's got to be a mutant. We got to save those kids from him. And let's go. And so all three of them head toward Calvin, and he's rolling up his sleeves. He's got his fist ready. And he thinks, they're out of me, after me. I got to run. Zing. They toss a brick, but he dodges out of the way. And one of them says, you rotten mutant, leave those kids alone. With the speed of thought, the uncanny Calvin Rankin creates an ice shield between himself and his attackers. He says, that'll hold him off till I get away. And so the bricks and the shovel and the hammer, whop, pow, wham, clunk, they run up against this ice shield that Calvin made out of nowhere, not even really understanding his powers. But Iceman thinks his powers the same as the beast and his mind. It can't be, and yet it is. How? How? Well, obviously, mysteriously, Calvin is able to mimic other people's powers, even if he doesn't know about them. Just being close to them gives him that ability. Let's see how this plays out. And Iceman says, but the way they're hounding him, just like Professor X said, humans would hound us if we ever revealed ourselves. I don't dare tip my hand by going after him. And so, look, he grabs his shoes, but with his sock feet, he climbs up the wall. He says, I made it. They'll never get me now. Go on, yell and threaten all you want to. I'm better than any of you. Well, he certainly is amazing, isn't he? And at the top, he says, look at him milling around, wondering what to do next. The weak fools. I'm not afraid of any of them. Say, wait a minute. They called me a mutant. It was because I leaped around and climbed walls, and because I had the power of creating and using ice. But I seem to remember 2 of the X-Men have those powers. And so he's starting to realize. That's it. I've done what no one's ever been able to do before. I've managed to discover the normal identities of 2 real X-Men. That's who I was fighting, the Beast and Iceman. And they think I've really got the same power as them. Crash! And look, he leaps around and knocks over a chimney. Crash! They don't even suspect my real secret. Nobody does. Suddenly, the black mood of Calvin Rankin undergoes a startling change. In a burst of sheer animal energy, of uncontrollable enthusiasm, he cavorts across the rooftops like a man gone wild. I've met 2 X-Men so far, but now that I know who they are, I'll be able to find the rest of them. And look at him as he balances across a ledge and he twirls in the air, grabs a power line with his feet. He says, when I'm done, I'll be more powerful than any or all of them. There's no way they can save themselves. This means the end of the X-Men. And look, he creates an icy pole, and so that he can do a pole vault. Then finally, phew, I'm bushed. That was some workout, but I got myself all overheated. I'll whip up some ice to cool off with. Oh no, I can't do it. Only a few droplets, and even they're melting away. I should have known. My powers have vanished. In my excitement, I forgot that my powers only last for a short time, only while I'm near the one I'm mimicking. Thump. I've got to regain those powers and more. I must, to carry out my plan. However, before we can learn what Calvin Rankin's strange plan is, let's see where he pops up next. And here's Marvel Girl. She's been shopping. She says, what a wonderful shopping tour. A pity a girl has to run out of money so soon. Well, that happens. We all love to shop, but eventually we run out of money. We have to be happy with what we've got. She thinks, I'll just stop for a quick snack before returning to the school. I'd better rush if I want a table. And all of a sudden she knocks into someone. Bach! She says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you with that tray. Hey, watch it. Here comes an angry man. Who do you think it is? Do we know somebody who's hot-tempered? It's Calvin Rankin again. He says, next time, look where you're going. If you weren't a girl, I'd paste you one. How rude. And she says, if I weren't a lady, I'd tell you what I think of your manners. And she thinks, I've never seen such a nasty-tempered specimen. If I weren't afraid of revealing my identity, I'd telekinetically toss him into a pot of stew. Well, that wouldn't exactly be the right response either, would it? Nutty females, thinks Calvin as he's sitting down with his cup of coffee. They're all alike. Now, where's the blasted sugar? Oh, on the next table. I'll have to get it. Why couldn't it be on my table in the first place? Man, he's never happy, is he? But watch what happens next. All of a sudden, holy smoke! The sugar is coming right to me by itself. All I had to do was think about it. Wouldn't that be fun? Just think about something and all of a sudden you can bring it to you. That's the power of Marvel Girl. And he thinks the town must be crawling with X-Men. My luck's come back again. That chick has to be Marvel Girl, the one with the power of telekinesis. If I follow her, she's sure to lead me to the others. The next day, as the X-Men clue their leader in, Hank says, "It's true, Professor. He had the same identical powers as Bobby and I." The professor says, "It's incredible, yet he can't be a mutant. My Cerebro machine registers negative." Remember, his Cerebro machine searches the area for other mutants. "It couldn't be that Cerebro is wrong, sir." "Impossible," says the professor. "It will respond to the presence of a mutant within a 100-mile radius of here. But we must learn his secret." Ring! It's the doorbell. "It's him," says the professor. "I can mentally confirm his presence. Admit him, Hank." And so Hank answers the door, and there's Calvin. "Hi, I'm sorry for the way I tangled with you yesterday. I came to apologize and to ask if I can join you." "Well, that decision is the professor's prerogative," says Hank. "Come in." Calvin thinks, the fool, he thinks I mean it. And Hank realizes he knows who we are. And Calvin is standing there in front of Professor X. And Calvin realizes that he's trying to probe my mind, but now I've got his mental power, so I can block him. Goodness, he's even got the professor's mental power. And so Professor says, "For the first time, I sense a brain as powerful as mine. He could be the greatest danger we've ever faced." Have you ever noticed every issue, it's the greatest danger that the X-Men have ever faced? It just gets bigger and bigger every time. And Professor says, "I'd like you to meet the others." And so Jean Grey introduces herself. "I'm Jean Grey. I bumped into you yesterday at the cafeteria. I'm glad you're in a better mood now. Calvin Rankin is my name. If you're wondering how I got here, it's because I followed you from that place." And then after Scott Summers has introduced himself, he looks at the fellow's sunglasses and he sees a glow appearing behind his smoked glasses, as though his eyes have suddenly been endowed with a power like mine. And Calvin says, "Glad to see you, Summers. Maybe more glad than you suspect." And then finally, he shakes the hand of Warren Worthington. "Warren Worthington III, huh? Put it there, pal." And he thinks he's got to be the angel. I feel a swelling starting to appear on my back, like wings getting ready to sprout. And Warren says, "Hello, Rankin." The professor realizes we must play along with him, act as though we trust him until we learn the extent of his power. "Hi, Drake, I remember you all right." "Good," he's thinking. "I can feel as though I can ice up again anytime I want to." Bobby says, "I didn't like you when we met yesterday, and I haven't changed my mind a bit today." "My sentiments exactly, Rankin," says Hank. "I can't fathom why you're here, but I suspect your motives are less than altruistic." "That's enough, Hank," says the professor. "Remember, Calvin Rankin is a guest." "But an uninvited one, sir." And Calvin thinks, none of them trust me, but so what? It's too late for them to save themselves now. Minutes later, Calvin has gone upstairs, and Hank says, "Professor, why did you permit him to go upstairs? He'll learn all about us." "It's too late for secrecy now," says the professor. "He already knows who we are, and he feels he's powerful enough to defeat us all." "What are we going to do about it?" asks Bobby. Professor says, "It's time to don your X-Men costumes. When he returns, it will be to challenge us. And upstairs, even as the professor speaks, Calvin says, I had to get off alone here for a minute. My shoes were killing me since my feet got as big as the beast's. It's a good thing I prepared an outfit for myself to wear. So he kicks off his shoes, takes off his socks. He takes off his shirt, and look, he's got a harness. It'll be a pleasure to get this tight binder off. I can't wait to see the result. Anticipating that he was going to gain the angel's wings, he actually dressed in a harness. And now he's set his wings free. He said, I knew it. All I had to do was be near the angel. Looks like I'm all set now. That means it's time for me to tackle the lot of them. And so there he is. He actually has a costume already prepared for himself with the letter M for mimic. He says, okay, X-Men, there's no need for any more pretending. I intend to defeat you all, and rest assured the mimic has the power to do it. I can't lose because I possess all of your own abilities, including the mental ability of Professor X. Marvel Girl says, Professor, it isn't possible. He's like a combination of all of us. Angel says he didn't have those wings when he first arrived. No, says Professor. Obviously, he can only mimic others when he draws near to them. Mimic continues, you all look fearful, and I don't blame you. Now I'll prove I'm mightier than all of you. Hank says, the Mimic, someone with the ability to duplicate our own superpowered feats. Iceman asks, how can we fight a guy like that? And Cyclops says, look out, he's ready to attack. And so here we see the Mimic. We see that he has all of the powers of all of the X-Men, including the Professor. And so how will the X-Men defend themselves against an opponent who is as powerful as all of them put together? Well, that's a question to be answered next time we come back for the finish of this X-Men adventure against their new opponent, the Mimic. All right, y'all, I hope you're enjoying the story. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye for now.